.49 after the hour. Morning, everybody. Morning, Sean. Yeah, you like the like the lightning and thunder there. Hello, Miss Turtle. How you doing? Adam's on as well. All right, guys. Hope you guys are hanging in there, trying to stay cool on this 16th day of July. Wait, Peter, all just running good. Welcome to StormTALK. Kind of dark here behind me in that studio. Turn the lights off on me behind me. It's kind of eerie, but kind of fits the mood, right? All right, we're getting back into the active radar talk. Now, I will say, because Ashley, I saw your comment. I know you're worried about your cookout on Saturday. It's not all bad news on Saturday daytime, so that's good. I'll get into that. A little bit of a change for the weekend here in just a second, and then we'll discuss some of the long range too, as always the case. Fair enough. As always, you guys can comment on the social media side, Facebook, YouTube, X, and what's the other one? Twitch. Miss Turtle's on Twitch. So we have some of you on Twitch every day. And that's a really good interface, too, to use. YouTube's really good, too. But Facebook, a little clunky on Facebook sometimes. But most of you are on Facebook. So apparently it's working all right for you. All right. So today, another hot day. Today will be a bit of a different setup, though. We are going to get at least some isolated storms that will begin to pop later on today. And while they can be gusty, we're not looking at a severe setup here. It's just more of an interruption to your day as far as a very heavy downpour that will happen, some lightning, maybe some gusty winds, about 30 miles per hour. Again, nothing wild, but enough of a wind to get your attention. And then it just has to run out of gas because there's not a tailpipe for these to maintain longer than, say, 20 minutes at a time. What we run into on a hot day like this is when you get those thunderstorms. It only takes really one to form and it collapses. That's when you got to watch it. Not when it's building up so much. It's when we know that it's going to reach its max level here very soon and collapse. That's when we get worried about a thunderstorm, is when the downdraft becomes dominant versus the updraft portion of that. When you see the cumulus building and they begin to get taller and taller, that's your first sign you're about to get a thunderstorm. If the cumulus are relatively small in the sky, you don't have nothing to worry about, but they start to tower up. In some cases, you can actually watch this happen. As you're looking at it carefully, you can actually slowly see the cloud expand if you pay attention. Pretty wild to see it. But it'll continue to grow, and once it collapses, it produces a little mini cold front, an outflow. That's where we run into problems because that outflow pushes outward, and we don't know exactly which direction it'll go because it could go. Sometimes it can go 360 all around the storm. Sometimes it only goes on one side. It just depends on how the storm is structured. But as it pushes out, it runs into the heat and creates another wave of thunderstorms wherever it pushes out from, the wind does. We don't know if that's going to blow north or south or east. It doesn't matter. Just something we have to just nowcast as we get into this afternoon. But just want to say that's how we get into the bumper cars idea, is that they kind of bounce around is what I'm trying to say. Hard to pick out where they'll pop. I do think the Louisville Metro is a little more prone to this kind of a setup on days like this than anywhere else. So I'll be surprised if we don't get a thunderstorm that pops somewhere around the Metro. I don't know what portion of it, but close to the heat island here. Right now, though, we're quiet. And I got a little bit of haze. Still that wildfire smoke at the distance. Not so much looking south, but looking north, you'll see it. 84, another very warm night. How's your ACs doing, by the way? Are they staying on all the time? Because I feel like mine is. It worries me. I try to give it a break every once in a while because I'm just afraid that it's going to just freeze up or something weird. But so far, it seems to be hanging in there. Run the fans, too, during the day. Ceiling fans do help to try to keep the flow in the house and keep those blinds covered. I already have the dark shades anyway, just because of my shifts all the time switching around. I have to be able to sleep. So that does help to keep your house cool too. But I get a lot of afternoon sun. I don't know if you guys have that issue as well. If you have a shade tree, it's the best, but I don't have a shade tree in the afternoon. So boy, when the sun hits my house in the afternoon, it cooks. And speaking of that, I don't know if I'd be using the oven in the afternoon or the dryer. Avoid those two appliances on hot days. You'll learn a lesson on that real quick on the energy bill. Okay. Anyway, I'm getting on a tangent. 84 right now. Dew point is up there into the 70s. You will feel it. Air you can wear. It is higher south and west. I'll show you that again on the PWatts, but it is higher south and west of Louisville. And that's going to be interesting. Sorry, it's a little bit of a bad site there, so don't worry. So it only takes one site to be off and not working correctly, and it messes up the contour of the map anyway. Looks like a weird bullseye there, but you see the dew points are running up there. I mean, look at that. Jasper 79. Again, we've only been in the lower 80s for the highest ever in Louisville. So when you get up there close to 80, it gets your attention. I mean, it's a little difficult to, especially if you have asthma, you feel it trying to breathe outside. Would you say, Sean? Well, yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, I pointed it out. Your AC is set to 70. Was that 76? Is that what it says? Wow, that's warm. You're bald. I can't do that. I keep mine on probably about 73, which I mean, it's not too far, but and it has to be cold for me at night to sleep. And that's really tough. But I get it. I mean, it does save a lot when you do that 76. I think they recommend 78 for your thermostat. I can't do that. I'm a baby. All right. Anyway, feels like 90 already in Louisville. And this is the fastest we've been all week to get to 90 for feels like temperature. So it could get close to 100 when you're not in a thunderstorm setup for this afternoon. The satellite, a little wonky today because the main visible satellite we use is not working. The GOES 19 is out today. So that's a bit of a pain, but we have at least some data that's coming in for cloud cover, so we can at least see what's going on. Thank goodness we have backup satellites. But anyway, radar is quiet. Well, look at this. Is interesting. If you look at I said that, and then it's gone now because let me reset that. There we go. Look at Lexington and Oldham County, and where else? Oh yeah, west of Evansville, and I believe it was somewhere. Yeah, right here. These little green waves you see at the very beginning of the radar loop at, let me rewind it, right about sunrise, right there. See those little loops? Those are blue martins in Louisville that take off in Oldham County. They always show up in the radar every year this time of year. They take off right at sunrise and fly away. And in some cases, these are bugs that fly away right at sunrise, and the radar can detect it. It happens just to the point of sunrise when you see a big surge right there. It's always cool to see. Anyway, everyone always wonders what those little circles that pop on the radar at sunrise, and it's actually bugs, insects, and or birds. Blue martin's pretty common around here for that. Anyway, radar's quiet now, but again, we are likely to get some downpours that will start to develop as we head into later on today. Look at the haze still from that wildfire smoke, just kind of parked into the northeast. Ugh, that's nasty looking, isn't it? At least we don't have that to deal with. I think we'd be complaining a lot more. But as I mentioned, the amount of moisture in the air is higher. South and west of Louisville PWatts certainly show that low that was here last weekend is now sitting a little closer to St. Louis today. So that's allowing for that flow to move in. But the flow is very, very weak. Now, when it comes to when do the storms pop today, the graph model is very, very fast on this. In fact, it develops a thunderstorm and in like 2 hours from now, it wants to pop storms over the Louisville metro. Well, we just saw from the Skytrack camera, we don't have the cumulus clouds yet. So I think that's a little too fast, but mid-afternoon, once we build the heat just a bit more, the atmosphere, then we'll start to build the cumulus. Again, the cumulus are key. Once they start to pop, that's all you got to do is just watch them. And that's your first sign. If they're not popping over your house and your neighborhood, then you're fine. But once they form, and they could form in central Kentucky today and areas of Indiana. What is a little interesting is the downdraft Cape today, we call this, where you get the stronger, when the storms collapse, you can get severe wind gusts sometimes. That potential is more focused right through here, just southwest of the wildfire smoke. and then around Cincinnati, Indianapolis, maybe even Lexington. But that's the zone that if the storm were to form and collapse, that gust of wind could be higher than 30 miles per hour and could be damaging. That's displaced from what you saw from the PWATs being higher, really, in this area. So they're not overlapped. So that's good. That's good. That's why we don't have an alert day set up today, and we're not talking about widespread severe weather. They're not overlapped over each other, but still, right on the border of all that is where the Louisville area is, where they cross slightly. So that's why I do think some gusty winds may develop in a couple of these that pop, but I don't see a huge issue there. But we'll watch it. Very heavy rainfall, and if you're going to be at the pool today, as soon as you hear that thunder, get inside. Get inside. Would you say your house would be at what? 68, Allison. Oh my gosh. Well, my AC would never even get this. I don't think my house would even get to 68. I don't think it can even do that. Can even do that. Mount at 76, Blue says. Somebody said, what's yours said at Wizard? 71. I get it. Again, my house wouldn't do that until the nighttime hours. But even the nights have been really, really tough. I'm willing to pay more. You should willing to pay more. All right, Ms. Turtle. Okay, so anyway, I know that's a whole other topic is the energy bill and the thermostats. I just wanted to at least mention that. Okay, so the thunderstorm chances today, we'll go mid-afternoon. We'll update you. I'll be on at 3 today, so we'll see where we're at that point. They fade away, and tomorrow I do think we'll have a bit more coverage, and it will be a little bit more northeast than what we've had today. So if you're closer to Carrollton today, or in general, you have a better chance to get some storms tomorrow than you will today. All right, so today probably will not form near you, but tomorrow, just about everybody in Wave Country will have at least a chance at a downpour, but the coverage is still looking scattered. Not all counties. So the rain chance will keep it about 40%. I think that's fair for now. And we'll just watch it as always. Okay, those fade away. Then we get into Saturday. Now, the change here on Saturday is a low that is showing up that's got a nice little kick to it, but it's way up in Canada. That's pretty far, right? So it's moving into the Niagara Falls area, into the northeast part of the country, Saturday night into Sunday. This is the cold front that'll drop down on Sunday that I was talking about that will be staring us down on Sunday. And it's a question of where does it stop? Where does it park? That will determine the storm chances and placement for Saturday night into Sunday. I do think Saturday daytime, and Ashley, this is where you come in, we're going to see at least a few scattered storms that may pop Saturday daytime, very isolated, almost like what tomorrow will be like. So I don't see a huge issue for your cookout. The severe risk, if we're going to see one at all, will come into play for what happens when the front drags its feet through the Ohio Valley. And it'll start with a line of storms that'll be just north of I-70 at 10 o'clock Saturday night. That's pretty late. So by the time they really fire, it's more of a northern Ohio Valley, northeast Ohio Valley concern just because of placement and timing. They'll be a little more prone to the hottest part of the day. So I don't see a severe risk here until we see what happens up there to the north. And even that is more favorable because by the time it drops south toward I-64, it's going to be during the overnight, and it just doesn't really have a lot of kick to it. Now, there could be a few gusty storms, but I don't know how well this is going to hold together because we'll still have fuel. Don't get me wrong, because we're very humid this weekend. But we don't have as much as we would have if we were 5 in the afternoon. So that's our saving grace on severe weather for the weekend is just where we're at in the Ohio Valley and the timing of the front. Now, where the front stops, and this is where the model on the graph stops, by the way, but wherever it does park Saturday night into the wee hours of your Sunday, that is where they will form for Sunday. And I'm thinking that's going to be more central Kentucky, maybe along and south of 64 will be your storm chance on Sunday. But it all depends on where it stops. And I don't have that answer yet. So when it comes to severe risk for the weekend, they have placed a marginal for all of you and a slight just clipping Jennings County. But you could tell that they're aiming more where your stronger pocket of wind is going to be closer to the low in Niagara Falls. So as you get further away from the low, the wind fields are weaker, but you still have the front that goes all the way to Illinois. So that's why the marginal goes way west here, is because of the dragging of the front. They're going to hold on to a marginal as the front slides all the way down Saturday night. They're at least keeping a low and severe risk. That's fair, only because when I looked at CSU, and I'll show you this full screen, CSU actually has us in the slight risk all the way down to I-64 on the left-hand side of your screen. That's CSU, and that's SBC on the right. So a little bit of a disagreement there on your severe risk and how far south it would extend. So that's interesting. Is CSU onto something? Sometimes it is with those AI machine learning models, right? Worth watching, but I don't think it's a big worry right now. Fair enough? Any questions on that I can answer now when it comes to the weekend setup? Hey, Wizard, so don't cancel my kayaking plans on Saturday. Nope, don't cancel them. Just be aware of a few downpours in the afternoon, but we'll be far away from the front on Saturday. This is a Saturday night issue into daybreak on Sunday. You're still giving your thermometer temperatures. That's funny. You guys are a trip. Wind energy. Hello, Godzilla. Like your name. For Saturday, it's not very strong. There is a tailpipe later at night, but it's about 30 knots aloft, which is close. 40 is our benchmark we look at for severe. It gets close to 30, so that's fair. I can see why they have the marginal out, and I can see why CSU has the slight, because models just vary a bit on some of that wind. How far south does it go? That's more of the issue of what CSU is doing, is the wind placement, not so much the timing of the front. So it just says that there's going to be more of a tailpipe as that front sacks south. A lot of the other short range data is like, not as much. So it should weaken. So anyway, you can't answer that until you get into it. That's all just model talk at this point, right? But it's not a lot of wind energy, so that's good. Fair enough? Hope that answered your question. Otherwise, during the day on Saturday, they just kind of, there's kind of bumper cars, kind of action. Let's see. Anything else? Anyone else good? Everyone else good? Okay. I think you guys are good. All right. So now here's what we're going to get into for, well, let me show you the Euro first off. The Euro does have the front in the area. And by the way, I'm not ignoring the tropical setup here in the Gulf. It has complicated a bit more, of course, because the flow is so weak in the Gulf region. We don't know if this is going to stay in the Big Bend area of Florida and try to go up to the Carolinas, or today there's some data that tries to take it west toward Louisiana. Well, that's fun. So there's still some disagreement here. And that's important for Tuesday when we get the second front. We got a front Sunday that I just showed you, Sunday early. And then we got a front on Tuesday. And that's the one that's going to be the kicker to give us the relief for 36 hours next week. So anyway, if this tropical system does not really develop and just kind of lingers, the front for Tuesday may be a little bit more of a kick on the coverage of storms. So first off, here's Sunday. You can see the Euro's got it placed very close to 64. That's fair. It just depends on where it stops, though. And then we get into Monday. I don't see much action on Monday. It's showing thunderstorms in West Kentucky. But as far as here into wave country, we got 20% on Monday, and that's good. I don't think we're going to see a lot. It will be hot on Monday. It will be hot, back in the 90s. But that's at the stage ahead of the second front. And this is the one we really want, is the Tuesday front. And this also looks to be a nighttime issue. So I'm hoping that if that holds, then we don't have much to worry about on the severe side, even on Tuesday, because, again, it's going to be late Tuesday night when it finally push in. But it does eventually arrive, and Euro's trying to catch on to allow this. Now, again, you're going to see a temperature drop. It's not going to be anything like, oh my gosh, I'm running around with, a hoodie and shorts on instead of tank tops. It's not that, but it will be better than 90 to 93, whatever we're topping out in for temperature. And certainly heat index is going to be only in the lower 80s, maybe mid 80s, but I think it's going to stay in the lower 80s for heat index. That's great. That's going to feel good. We'll have a chance to reset at night, especially with our ACs. Some of you will drop in the 50s. Louisville will stay in the 60s. But a bit of a reset will happen. Wednesday is still looking to be the key day Maybe Thursday. You could get 2 days out of this. Could get 2. 1's likely. 2, maybe. So if you're planning your sick days, Wednesday or Thursday next week are your 2 days. I'll write you a note. And I'll sign it, Kevin Hardy. We get into next week, though. It's only 36 hours that we enjoy this. So soak it up, because we do bounce back toward next weekend, back to a hot, humid, scattered storm scenario. I don't see a front. There are a couple little waves that pass through the Midwest that may change the storm chances toward the weekend as we evolve here, but I don't see anything too outstanding. Now, this is where the Euro stops that I can show you, but GFS especially is trying to show another front that moves down at the end of July. It doesn't have friends yet, although CFS model does hint that could be possible. So we may get another reset at the end of July, maybe. We'll see if we hold on to that. I still see the August one, by the way. It's still showing up in August. Mid-August, it's there. But do we get a second one or a middle one in the end of July? I don't know. Maybe. But when we don't have these little resets, boy, it's going to be hot and humid. In fact, the Euro is really interesting here. This is all the different model runs. I've showed you this before. The different model runs looking out. Each day it updates, and it gives an idea of temperatures, and it evolves. And this bottom row is the most recent run that came out. And this is the date at the bottom of July into August. Okay. It does, by the way, it did sniff out. This is the reset of cooler weather. It started to sniff it out a week ago, and here it is here. So it still shows it. That's good. It's been struggling a couple runs here. Like, I don't know what's going on there. But what's interesting is we hit toward the 25th and 26th. A lot of you have been asking about that weekend. And the Euro is trying to take us now to 99 to 100 or higher for that weekend. Okay, well, the previous run was 80. So it'll either be next weekend 80 or 100. See the struggle we deal with as meteorologists. When the data comes in, it just flips around like that. But you got to look at the trend, all right? Look at the overall theme that it's had for next weekend, and majority of the runs have been 90s. It's only one run that was like 80. So I think it's going to be a hot and humid weekend. I think 90s are possible. 100, I doubt. But 90 to 93, yeah, I think that's fair. So if you're worried again about that particular weekend, it does look hot. Okay, let me get into the 10-day. Here we go. That model keeps showing up every time. Here's the 10-day. And this has got your numbers and your rain chances a little more specifically. Again, 92 today. We'll watch these little pop-ups that form. And then as we head into the weekend, Saturday night and Sunday is the main issue there for the front and its location. And then the second front Tuesday. And then we'll go 84. Again, it's nothing, outstanding, but it's an improvement. And it's all about moisture resetting than it is the temperature more than anything, to be honest. And then we'll be able to put the heat back in for next weekend. Good enough? Godzilla, how you doing? What about this? Your comment's not showing up. There it is. What about this evening, Indiana? Southern Indiana, but mainly closer to the river. You could get a couple of pop-up storms. And you may get a storm that may develop. If one develops in Louisville, it may produce an outflow that surges into Clark. I'm not sure where you're at in Indiana, but if it surges north into Floyd or Clark County, it could produce a storm there. Otherwise, I think you're going to get most of your action south and southwest of Louisville, where your higher moisture is today. From 2 to 4, Louisville is a little more prone to the pop-ups of 2 to 4 right now. But again, it won't take long for the bumper car action to get going. So once they start to bounce around, it may bounce toward you and it may miss you. And you may have 0 happening in your area. Let's see. Oh, in Orleans. Okay, you're up there into Orange. So I think it's you'll get a few pop-ups maybe that could form in Orange, only just because of the way the Hoosier National Forest is lined up to your south and west. We do tend to see sometimes pop-ups that form because the moisture coming in, especially off the forest itself, it adds. So pop-ups do tend to form in that region. I'm not going to rule it out, but I don't think it's a high chance. It's hard to answer until they really pop, to be honest with you. But there's not going to be a lot of them. I think there may, if I had to guess, there may be 4 storms today that form on the radar, maybe 5. And that's sharing all of wave country. I think we may have a few freckles that pop and it won't move again. They have to produce an outflow to create the appearance of moving, but the storm itself is not going to move. It's going to just sit over one neighborhood and then exhaust out, if that makes sense. Pollen count's up there. It's high. It's not very high. It's very high. It's high enough for grass, but the rain will should reset that. Jeremy, Lake Cumberland this weekend. You have a few downpours. You're in a tough spot too in Lake Cumberland just because of the plateau area of Tennessee into southeast areas of Kentucky there. You get into that region, you do tend sometimes to get some storms that could form, but I do think overall it's going to be pretty scattered coverage in the daytime hours. You just got to watch Saturday night, and then I think Sunday, because the front is not going to reach you all the way, you'll be ahead of the front, which means you'll still be hot and humid on Sunday. Therefore, you could get a better coverage of storms on Sunday, actually, than you would on Saturday. And then Saturday night storms, I don't know if they'll even get to you. They may not. They may get to Louisville, and certainly I think they'll get to Indiana or Indiana counties, but I don't know if they'll get to you all the way Saturday night. But Sunday may be your day. You're welcome. You're welcome, Jeremy. Hey, Joel. Oh, yeah, I forgot you're off to the east there. I really hope the tropical system develops. You guys do need the rain really bad. You've had a tough spring, early summer on dry weather. So that's your saving grace for tropical systems, Joel. As you know, that's the only way you get out of drought really in the southeast corner of the country in the summer season into late summer especially. And it's not a bad setup, honestly, because it doesn't look over. You don't want a hurricane, right? And I don't see that. So you just need something to sort of develop to produce more of a heavy rain setup. You don't want, I don't know if you heard of what's going on in Texas today. It's been bad, really bad in Texas. You remember that camp that got hit? Was it last year? I think it was last year they got hit with the flash flooding. That same camp area got hit today again with flash. There was a flash flood emergency again. Obviously, the camp is not active, but it was just remarkable that it was in the same region. But they've had like 10 to 20 inches of rain recently, and they got 8 today alone, just 8 inches today. So Texas has been in bad shape, Southeast Texas. So I'm sure if you have friends or family there, you've already heard about it because it's been nonstop for them. It's a very weak low that just will not move in Texas at all. Even all the way back to El Paso. It's pretty rough. Okay, everyone good? You heading to Panhandle? You may be stormy. Yeah, I think it's going to be stormy, but I don't see a hurricane or anything, Jeff. But I do think it'll be, unfortunately, I do think it'll be a little active. A lot of tropical moisture just sitting there along I-10. So I do think you'll have some action there. All right, guys, I'm going to run, and we'll be watching the radar today. So stay tuned. We'll send out any localized post if there's going to be any issue with USV crash on the Snyder, which, boy, that was a mess yesterday, wasn't it, at Barbson Road? That is now open, but again, there's a crash there, looks like, near O. Henry. By the way, before I go, the cumulus have started. I need some music for this. They have just now begun to pop. Look at the little babies. Little bitty baby cumulus. But they have begun. So now we watch and see what happens. All right. You guys take care. I will see you all coming up on midday in just 30 minutes. Take care, everybody.